when you ask a person, what does marriage mean? Is, a lot of times it's like, we just don't know how to answer it, but it means three things at the core. And it means that we share finances. It means that we're family, that we have a family bond and sexual faithfulness. When you go to the state and they recognize your marriage, that's what they're recognizing, that you're now one financial entity, that you're now next of kin, and that there is a sexual fidelity that is there in the relationship. Now, an atom, as I was talking about in the teaching, an atom has protons, neutrons, and electrons, and that's the core. And if any of those become unstable, the atom becomes unstable. Something's wrong if all three of those aren't right. And one of the greatest challenges in this issue of the core factor is they all have to be right. In other words, when you look at a great marriage, you're looking at finances, sex, and met needs. When it says that we're next of kin, what it means is I take responsibility for you. I'm getting married to you, not your mom and dad, not your brothers and sisters, not your friends. Now, I am taking responsibility for you in this relationship. So when you see a great marriage, you're always looking at a couple to where they're one financially. They meet each other's needs. I'm here to care for you as next of kin, and I have a sexual fidelity. Now, we've been married for a long time, and we've counseled a lot of couples, and what you find is finances all by itself can make a marriage great, I'm talking about that issue can destroy a marriage. Unmet needs or sex, all these things are powerful. You can have people who are wealthy financially, but unfaithful, and it destroys their marriage. You can have people who have a great sex life, but they're broke, really affects their marriage. Or people who are just insensitive to each other's needs. So all three of these have to be good in a relationship for it to work.
Well, I think I like what you pointed out in one of the teachings about being consistent. You've got to be consistent in all three. And it's like raising a child. If we're not consistent in our discipline, that child will take over.
That's right.
And, so there's always that need to, kind of go back over, have those checks of, okay, are we doing okay here? Are we doing okay here? We're doing okay here. And finances was difficult for us.
Very difficult.
I had a totally different view of money, as you've taught, and so it was a huge issue. I had fears. I wanted to save money, and it was just, I still remember the fights, and just, but once we worked through it and we learned how important it really is to not only honor each other and respect each other, but then, it was easy to come into those other areas. And okay, we've got through that battle. Now these other two areas, we can learn how to work on those.
Really, in our marriage early, and I know a lot of people can probably, relate to this. In our marriage early, we battled all three. Is we fought about money all the time because I saw money as love and relationally, and you saw it more in security terms. And we both judged each other. I thought you were a tightwad, you thought I was a spendthrift, and we fought constantly about money, and we didn't pray about issues. And as we learned about money, we began to pray about things, we began to respect each other and not talk down to each other when we were making decisions. So we got to a point in our relationship where finances were great. But we also dealt with the unmet needs issue. Now again, I'm saying when you get married, you become next of kin. When Adam looked at Eve, he said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." In other words, you're part of me. The Bible tells men to love your wives as you would love your own body. You can't marry someone and not become intimately interested, or I'm saying you shouldn't get married to a person and not completely take responsibility for the needs and well-being of that person. We had that problem because I was very insensitive to you early on.
Yeah. I like to tell couples too, it's amazing how, things are going along, you're doing really great, and you're telling your friends, "Oh, we're so happy," and then wham, you have that fight, and it's just like the worst thing in the world. It's like, "Oh, I hate him, I'm going to divorce him," and da da da. And just because you have those bad times, those bad months, or those bad fights, it doesn't mean that it's as bad as it really is. It's just, go back to the principles, go back to the things that we're teaching. Look at that. Look at it and say, what do we need to improve, or what do we need to add to our relationship? And understand it's really something that can be worked on.
You bet. And I think it helps to understand what the core of marriage is. When I was doing the research on this teaching, I looked at when the state marries people, what do they recognize? And when I found out what it was, the state just looks at it in just a kind of a sterile manner, and they just say, well, here's what marriage means. For a lot of people right now who are struggling in their marriage, they're struggling financially. They're being insensitive to their spouse's needs. They're not fulfilling each other's sexual needs. That's the core of marriage. And when you look at it, you just say, we're going to be together for the rest of our lives. We need to get this thing right. Work on your finances. Work on talking about money and budgeting and living within your means and praying about the decisions you make. Work on meeting each other's needs and trying to learn. In our resources, Karen, we tell the differences between men and women and how to understand your spouse's needs. Work on the issue of sex.
And being humble enough to admit we've done it wrong.
Yeah.
We need to change.
Yeah.
We need to repent of the way we've been doing it and realize it's not the end of the world. We just need to start doing it better.
That's right. We made every mistake in our marriage. We almost divorced after several years of marriage. And money and the issue of met needs and sexuality, these were things that we just did wrong. God saved our marriage. And I want you to know, if you're struggling right now, God can save your marriage from any issue or any problem that you have. But when God saves your marriage, He saves you into the truth. And the truth is that marriage is a union of a man and a woman together around money, around each other, around sexuality, around your family.
Thank you for joining us. Experience the life-changing series Sex, Love, and Communication on CD or DVD. Follow your interests and get social by connecting with Jimmy and Karen and the Ministry of Marriage Today on Twitter. Marriage Today's latest book, Lifelong Love Affair, is an essential tool couples can turn to again and again for inspiration and strength. Order your copy today. Become a rock-solid partner today and equip yourself with the tools you need for a successful marriage. $14, $28, or $56 per month. Choose the partnership level that's right for you. Become a rock-solid partner today.